Welcome to the Money podcast, where we talk about money and movies. Today, I've got a friend from way back when I want to say early 2000s ish, when we worked together back at
Yes.
Rhythm and Hughes on Scooby-Doo 2, the most amazing movie you've ever seen. It was a lot of fun to work on. But I'm here with Arthur Jeppe. Today, he is a real estate agent, and we're going to get some real estate insight today from him. So, welcome today, Art. Great to have you.
That's quite an intro, going from Scooby-Doo 2, which I worked at Scooby-Doo 1 also, so let's not forget that.
Oh, right.
Into real estate. Awesome.
Right, yeah. Straight from that.
I got a favor. Can you hold on 1 second?
Oh, sure.
Just 1 second. Hold on.
Sure.
I'm just going to step away for a second. Okay.
Sure. Oh, hey.
Hey, can we just do this together?
Oh, sure.
Sitting in your garden.
You don't like that? You didn't like? No? Okay. All right. Let's do that.
Okay.
Come on in.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
But
Let's figure this out.
Doesn't give me a chair.
I need
Hold
to
on.
get you a
Let
chair.
me go get a chair.
Okay.
You just stick there.
Okay, Cam's room.
Oh, much better.
How's that?
Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Here we are.
All right.
We're back.
We're back here. So this is the first. Oh, actually, I've got to cancel you over here, though. Otherwise, we're not full screen.
We can listen to the fountains. You have a nice backyard, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
We should
Thanks
make
to
some
you. You
pizza.
showed me that place.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
place. All right. So, Art, let's talk about. Well, first, let's talk about our time at Rhythm and Hughes. That was one of the fun times I had working on a team. It was all about team back then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that point, because we were lighting shots.
Right.
Can I change the light a little bit, because I don't look as good as you do? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
There we go. Look at that. Hey. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yes. So we were talking about Scooby-Doo. Most people wouldn't say, yes, I'm going to hang my hat on that film, but it's all about working with a great team in visual effects. And I think that's what most of us kept coming back for, was that camaraderie. Didn't matter what film you were working on, as long as it was a good team.
Yep.
What got you into visual effects in the first place?
Well, when I was getting into visual effects, there were no schools to go to. So you really had to learn on the job. So I have a degree in architecture from UC Berkeley. Great school, great thing to study, horrible thing to practice. I mean, all my friends that are architects, I respect tremendously, because they're doing something that I didn't have the drive or the heart to put up with certain things that took me out of the creative. Like, why do I have to worry about HVAC and electrical? Right. Honest to God.
I could see that.
Structural, who cares? We're just going to make something look good. So I got out of architecture and had a degree and didn't know what I was going to do. And it was through friends and friends of friends and friends and friends. It was probably the fifth generation until finally I met someone in film that said, hey, what you should do is this. And when I was looking for a job in film, I would go to people and I'd just say, tell me about what you do and how you do it. It wasn't about asking for a job. It was about, tell me about what you do. And eventually they would ask about what I do and where I came from. And one of them, Allison Savage, who was a visual effects supervisor on Terminator, and a great woman who I didn't know when I started this, but I was introduced to her through 3 or 4 different people to get to her. She said, why don't you go into visual effects? There's a lot of architects in there. You think spatially, you understand that technically you have a foundation that you can build on. And so I was introduced to 3 studios, and one of them, Stuart Robertson, who's an Oscar-winning visual effects supervisor, said, hey, we would love you to come work for us, but we don't have any projects right now. It was R. Greenberg Associates on Sunset Boulevard in LA. And I said, well, Stuart, I want to work. I'll intern. I don't need to be paid. Because Stuart said, when we get a project, we'll call you. And I said, look, I'm all in. I'm here for you now. And he's like, oh, can you come in tomorrow morning? And so because
awesome.
I was working for free, I got to learn on the job, and it was a great studio and a great place to be because they had their own software, tremendous talent in there, and tremendous opportunity to move up through the ranks if you proved yourself. So I was there for a couple of years, and it was like there was no better place for me.
Nice.
At the time. So
Very
that's how I went from and then probably that was the first part. And I did that for about 20 years.
Right.
Loved it. Like you said, it was never about the project. People say, what was your favorite project? Or you won an Oscar, was that the best? No, it was always the team. And every project was demanding in a different way. And you had to solve problems. And whether it was a cartoony movie or the movie Life of Pi, right? It was still about the team and what you did.
Right.
So that was film. And then I ended my film career at Disney, working on Frozen, a little bit of Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6.
Oh, cool.
Not much on Wreck-It Ralph, but and then great place to be, tremendous culture, tremendous community. And then but driving from Newport, where I live, to Burbank was tough. So I said, all right, we got to make a change. I used my degree in architecture and the people that I knew in Newport to move into real estate. So that's where I am now. I don't know what's next, but
right. And did you have some sort of background in real estate? I mean, obviously we can get into that in a little bit as far as like what you've invested in yourself, but as far as did you decide to go take a class or certification, or your family have some sort of history there?
No, I mean, the only history was just over the years, my parents owned their house, it appreciated. We'll talk about Venice and buying in Venice at the time when we bought the house there, and then buying down here. When I was working at Blizzard, we bought our house down here and have kept everything. So as far as investments, we've sort of stayed true to keeping our money in real estate, or that money in real estate. But there was no like deep learning or, and then to get your license, there's a test that you have to take.
Gotcha.
Most realtors, if they're being honest, will tell you that it's harder to become a hairstylist. Like the testing to get a license to be a hairstylist is harder than it is to become a real estate guy or girl. But and that's not saying anything bad about hairstylists, but it is kind of interesting. Like
that's pretty funny. And so, how long has it been since you've been in this?
9 years.
9 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and it's all been in Orange County. This whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember visiting you when we were on Scooby-Doo in your Venice house. When did you buy that house?
I bought the house in Venice in 97.
Nice. So prime time before the crazy booms and all that.
But that was just dumb luck. I mean, honestly, that was just, I mean,
California has always been expensive. So I imagine even then it was like, oh my God.
It felt like it.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't. But I was fortunate. I didn't know I was looking for a house. I walked past a house during Venice Art Walk, and there was a sign up. And then the next week I was looking in the real estate section, and the price had come down. Nice. It had gone from 490,000 to 450,000. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll look into it. Nice. Called some people that understand money better than I did, and they said, look, you could do it.
Right. And I imagine, back then, 450 was a lot of money.
450 was a lot of money.
And now it seems like that's nothing. Yeah.
It's funny because I knew we were going to talk about it. I thought about this. I was working at VIFX with Lee Berger and Richard Hollander and a tremendous group of people that a lot of them came over to Rhythm and Hughes because they were absorbed by Rhythm and Hughes. But I was working for Fox at VIFX, and I remember naively going into Lee's office, and Richard was there. Like, these are the guys that are running the studio.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, guys, you have a minute? They said, yeah. I don't even know if they knew my name. And I said, look, I'm thinking about buying a house. Does that make sense? Like, you guys have sort of a bigger picture. Right. And they had a big picture. And the visual effects has always been up and down. And well, we can't really give you any advice on that. If, you'll have to decide on your own, because they didn't want to be liable. Like, a year later and be like, hey, I'm, living on the streets thanks to you. But thankfully they just said, hey, you make your own decisions. But I mean, I was completely blind and naive to it. Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate, really, really fortunate. Right. To have it fall into place.
Yeah. And for those that don't understand especially in visual effects, when you go from project to project, you don't have like a staff job. So your next project, you could be out of work. Who knows? You know, luckily, like at Rhythm, it was kind of back to back for a while.
Yeah.
But I remember when I bought my first car, and I was in movies, and I bought a car, and it was brand new Toyota Corolla, still have the manual roll-up windows, you know, it's baseline cassette player. And when I paid it off and I was still at Rhythm, I'm like, I actually paid off a car working in movies.
Celebrate.
Wow. So I can imagine that feeling in film for sure, or for house. But now in hindsight, like you say, amazing investment, where you're probably sweating the mortgage payment at the time. Now, you know, and I think this is actually a good lesson that you mentioned to me last year, where US is, I think, the only country, maybe one of few countries, where you can get a fixed mortgage.
Yeah.
And if you lock that in, your rent essentially is locked in.
Yep.
So
for 30 years.
For 30 years. So what may seem expensive right now, in 10 years, it's going to be nothing.
Yep.
And that struck me when you mentioned that. And I imagine that Venice place is like gone sixfold, tenfold, whatever.
So cities like Venice or coastal California, San Francisco, sort of have this twofold appreciation, right? One is the rent that you can gather if it's an investment increases because people want to live at the coast or in a nice city,
right?
And then you also have the appreciation of the land. There are places, you know, a lot of times people talk about cap rates, and that's how much you can make versus how much you're putting out,
right?
And how much you're purchasing for. And, you know, 4 to 6% is great. Newport, it might be a little bit lower, but the fact is underneath that cap rate, you've got appreciation on the property. So you've got this little bit of cap rate on the top, but your property is appreciating. So Venice was one of those things. Venice was sort of unsung. It was recognized by artists and a lot of creatives that were living there. But between Santa Monica and like Playa and Manhattan Beach, Venice was sort of considered like not a dead zone, but it was touch and go sometimes. As far as there were neighborhoods that you didn't want to walk through, and then there were neighborhoods that were great. And so Venice, I think, was really starting to come into itself at that point. So had I bought a year and a half earlier than that, it probably would have been 200,000. Right. So it was, maybe that's a little bit aggressive, but it was a place that was sort of prime. You look at it and you say, where else can I live on the coast of Southern California for this amount of money and be close to everything that I need to be at for this price?
Right.
And Santa Monica wasn't it, and Manhattan Beach wasn't it, and Venice was. And that was because it was sort of, there was some tension. There were times that it felt a little bit janky.
Right.
It's a technical term.
Right. Well, so on top of that, you've also got the housing market crash in 2008. I imagine because you bought so early, that never even became even close to.
No, it wasn't an issue.
No.
And the rents, like I said, the rents in that part of town have always covered the nut very well. And when I was living there, I mean, I lived there for, I don't know, almost 10 or 12, 15 years. And that was great. And then when it came time to rent, it was good. The other thing that I'll note about this idea that you lock in your payments for 30 years or 15 years or whatever term you do, and if you refinance, it's even further, is that there's this, and it makes perfect sense. Rents consistently go up.
Right.
And even though you may be paying more for your mortgage, that's a straight line. It doesn't rise and it doesn't fall necessarily.
Right.
And your rent is going to rise. And at some point, those two are going to cross. And then it's going to be much, much cheaper for you to continue to pay your mortgage than to continue to pay your rent that goes up 12%. And then you're building equity.
Right.
And there's tax benefits and all that stuff. But that's
that's
your thing.
Right. So going from that to whatever's happening right now, I think it's very different than what we've seen in 2008, where it's very localized. I've been surprised here how in Orange County, where it's you have all these huge rolling hills and lots of space versus LA, and not a lot of building. There's some here in Lake Forest actually, but not as much as needs to happen to meet the demand. There's just not enough homes, and that's why you haven't seen, when interest rates go through the roof, you haven't seen this massive crash. Actually, really across the country, you've seen a little bit in some parts, but not yet. But there's this demand, or this supply and demand thing. What are you seeing there? I don't know if you can really speak across the board, but what about what you're seeing in Orange County?
So to your point about all the open space in Orange County, there is, but a lot of that is spoken for. And there were certain agreements that were made that if we can, land developer like Irvine Company, who owns, used to own all of Orange County, but they said, look, if we can develop this, we will make this open space, and we will give it to the community or wherever. They put it in a fund or a trust to keep it protected. So there is some development, but a lot of what we see as open space is going to remain open space, and I think it should. So this idea of making more homes is a tough one in Orange County. It is happening on the backside of Irvine, Portola. Like, they're building out up into Trabuco and the Trabuco Hills there. That's taking place. But when we drive down the coast and you see these hills that like open, like there won't be homes, or there shouldn't be homes up there. Right. At least what the agreements are. And then this idea of, supply and demand. Supply and demand right now is driven by interest rates, and it's this chicken and egg thing, right? It's like, I really want to sell my house. We're downsizing, or we need to upsize, and I could sell it right now. And the market is strong for sellers if it's priced well. If you overprice it and you say, well, this is the through line, and it sold for this last year, I want to sell for this next year or this year, that might not happen. And then you turn off buyers and they sort of forget about your property. But with, if it's marketed well and priced right, it will sell. But a lot of sellers are saying, great, I can sell in a month. It'll sell within a month's time, 30 days. But where am I going to go? So this is that chicken egg thing. I can sell, but there's no egg for me to move in. So the chicken's not making eggs because they're not moving, and demand is very, very high, but availability is very, very low. Right. So we run into that. And then interest rates, you can always chase them down. The question is can you afford to be in them for a year and a half at the current rate? Right. I mean, I think Venice, I was at 7 or 8%, and now we're financed,
which is really normal.
Times
this last several years is crazy. Look,
it is super crazy. And then but we chased it down, and now we're at 3.25. Wow. And so the great thing is if you get comfortable and you're willing to, and you're able to make the payments at 7, and then over the next 5 or 10 years rates go down, and you can, and then you say, okay, the extra that I have, either I'm going to invest it somewhere else, or I'm going to pay down my place. At 3.25, it's easier to give yourself money than to pay the bank.
Like free money.
Yeah. Free money.
Nice. You work for or you're part of Compass. How does that work as an agent for a company?
So I'm basically a freelance employee. I hang my license at Compass. Compass does not let anybody come in. So there's sort of this give or take, like, is one qualified? Compass is a national brokerage, and coming from where we come from in film, Compass is an amazing fit. Like they hire great agents, and then they support them with great technology. So Compass has like an end-to-end platform. They have programmers, just like we did in film. Right. You got people that you can come to and say, hey, I need this to do this, and the same thing's happening on our side. And so as a result, we have this platform that makes it easy for us to help our clients and help them succeed and help them get what they want, and make us more effective and more efficient, which allows me more time to spend with my clients face to face and directly than in the old days at other companies. at other brokerages, it was always like, you know, these shiny objects that were new to the studio or new to us. Sorry, I say studio kind of naturally, new to the brokerage, but then that would change. So I get this tool in the hands of my clients and they'd say, oh, we love it. And then the next time it's like, oh, if you want to search for houses, don't do it there, do it here. And Compass keeps it all within our ecosystem and we control it. So if something's not working, I can get it fixed for you before I would ever be able to do it somewhere else.
Somewhere nice.
That's a little bit long-winded, but Compass as a company is tremendous.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And you have connections like really all over the country. If you have a client going to New York or something. Yeah.
And what's unique about that, right? It seems like, well, Coldwell Banker is across the nation too. But the reality is Coldwell Banker is franchised. And I don't want to take this into the weeds, but Compass is one company. So the agents in New York work for the same people that I work for, or supported by the same company that I'm supported by. Whereas if you're a franchisee like Coldwell or Keller or EXP or whatever, you're basically your own entity. And that relationship with other agents, and in particular, the confidence that those agents are strong and take care of clients like I take care of them. If I'm going to share a client with someone in New York, I want to know that they have the right mindset and that they're capable.
Right.
And so because Compass, that bar is set, everyone is hired at that level or above. I know that I can. So, and the other thing is making calls. I can find the 3 best agents in Poughkeepsie, like within a couple minutes.
Right.
And I can get them on the phone and say, hey, look, Ryan's thinking about moving to Poughkeepsie. I don't know why you'd move to Poughkeepsie, but it sounds good. And can I get you guys in touch?
Nice.
And the answer is yes, you know, and I'll keep you in the loop and I can understand what's going on and I can help them help you and help you like get answers. So it's really pretty dynamic. And there's no other brokerage that has the presence that Compass has, which in most of the nation, it's, you know, you've got about 20% of the market, which is tremendous.
That's huge.
So it's, if I was anywhere else, I'd be looking in my rearview mirror, like, damn it.
Right.
should have gone to Compass. But it's great.
Oh, very cool. As far as market conditions go, you know, a lot of people just focus on residential, but I'm hearing through various, you know, YouTube buzzwords or whatever, that there is this coming Airbnb bust, or because of interest rates and people aren't traveling. You know, there was this initial travel boom because people are finally free out of their homes, but then it kind of died down. And now there's this like, where the big chain hotels are starting to compete, where before Airbnbs were the cheaper one, and now it's really not a difference. So I'm hearing that. And then I'm also hearing, of course, the commercial real estate side because of all the remote work. What are you seeing on either of those? And I know you maybe just speaking for Orange.
Yeah. So specifically to Airbnb, I mean, you know, a city like Newport has restrictions, so you need a license to Airbnb. And that is really, I think I've got it right, but it's like less than 30 days. So you can rent out a place for 30 days or more, you know, to different people. So we don't see a lot of Airbnb. I'm reading the same stuff you are. I mean, I know that it's changing, and there's certain cities that are putting more and more restrictions on Airbnb. But what we see on the coast, you know, the other thing to consider with Southern California is a lot of people want to be here. So that demand is different than someone who says, you know, I'm going to Airbnb in the middle of the country or in the Midwest, or, you know, there's a lot of drive to be on the coast. And there are some people that accept that they're going to make a ton of money in 4 months of summer in Airbnb, and maybe the holidays, and then the rest of it, they're not going to.
Right.
And a lot of people like that because that means that they can go to the beach, or they can, you know, they can spend time at their place. They're not seeing a bust of it yet, but the dynamics are changing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was kind of expected. You could see it. And then the commercial side of it, there's no question, like certain things are resetting, but there are a lot of companies that are saying that people need to be back. And there's certain businesses and certain cultures where it's necessary for people to be under one roof. I mean, visual effects is one that, because when I did it, it was important to be side by side and face to face.
Right.
And it's changed. And as a result, it's probably cheaper for companies to run their businesses, but maybe there's more time that's necessitated to getting the work done.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting on that front. I was pushing when I was working at I'll just say a previous company I was working at. I was pushing to try to get more remote work for the people who've been there a while. They're established, whatnot.
Yeah.
And leadership was like, yeah, let's do it. And they were, really forward thinking. Literally, like 3 months later, the pandemic hit. And so we were already set to go.
Yeah.
That company
Perfect.
was already set up very well anyway. And within a week, everybody was working from home. And what I found was we actually were more productive. One, because you're forced to be in your house, so there's nothing else to do. So you had that.
Yep.
But then, at the same time, I think we just found new ways to do things. So instead of getting up from your desk like when I was your coordinator, get up from my desk, go see the other artist, how they're doing, check in on them, all that kind of stuff. Now you just do the same thing, but you check in, on chat. Hey, how you doing? Oh, let me give you a quick call or stay on chat. You talk about, it's all done like this.
Yeah. Well, not like this.
Well, not quite like
it was at the very beginning,
yes, right.
when I was sitting in your
right.
backyard. Okay.
And it was literally like that. You could have somebody
at the desk next to you.
Because even when we were in the office, it was like that, which is crazy. So for me, at least in the visual effects industry, maybe the gaming industry, it's not that necessary. You still need once in a while, whoever's close by, hey, let's get together and start building, because you need that rapport. You can't replace the face-to-face. But to me, it is a big, at least for our industry, you can at minimum reduce your footprint.
Yeah.
And
we have, I know one individual in particular, and he was at Rhythm for a while, and then he was at Disney, who has a van with a Starlink hookup, and he's making movies for Disney. He's
awesome.
lighting shots from Moab.
Wow.
Right. And he logs on, I'm assuming 5 days a week.
Right.
I don't know. And he's getting work done. So it's super interesting and kind of exciting.
That's really
cool. I
cool.
think being not having experienced it, like I would miss that sort of happenstance,
right?
Where you're walking down a hallway and
you definitely don't get that water cooler type of thing.
Or you see something on someone's screen and you're like, how are you doing that?
Right.
And then you implement that on the project a year and a half later. It's like,
true.
okay, let's do this fabric sim, or let's figure out water better.
Right.
But like you said, I mean, the overhead and the opportunity and efficiency. I knew a lot of guys when it first happened that I was talking to at Disney, and they're like, I like it better. I'm getting more work done because I'm not walking down the hallway to get coffee.
Right.
And I want to get done because I can hear my kids are coming home soon.
Right.
So,
and you don't have the commute, and there's all sorts of benefits, but like you mentioned, there are missed things that you try to recreate, and
stay on Slack all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
With your office mates.
Well, we even tried there's a program called Gather Town.
Okay.
And it's basically an old school looking video game where you have a little avatar of yourself. And
gamification.
You can recreate your office space and then walk around and talk to people. And the closer you get to a person, the chat windows pop up.
Yeah.
And then you can walk over to the fake kitchen. Kind of cute. One of our supervisors at a previous place did it, and their team loved it. They had a great time. So it's kind of, people come up with cool ideas to kind of work around, but you'll still never get that same experience. Well, I know we've gone very close. What would you say are the financial lessons that you've gained over the year? You mentioned obviously the real estate pieces with the Venice place and whatnot, but do you have any other financial words or gems that you wish you would have known, or that you did find out?
The wish I would have known. That's the one.
Everybody has those.
Is that idea, and you talk about it a lot. Is this idea of compounding, right? And starting earlier rather than later.
Right.
The hard part is that when you're young, you don't think you need to worry about the future. And
Right.
that's really when you should be worrying about the future. Right. So this idea of saving money or living below your means and all of those things that are habits that will help you and continue. Like that's something that I wish I had done more of. And it what I did do serves me well, but it wouldn't have taken much to say, okay, I'm gonna do more of it.
Yeah. You feel so bulletproof in your 20s, especially
Exactly.
where
Why
it's
do I
like,
need to-
and I'll be a director someday, or
Yeah.
I'll be whatever.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Why do I need to worry about that right now?
Yeah.
And you know, the other part of it, and I touched on it, is that it creates these habits, right? Like you start thinking like, do I really need this?
Right.
And if I don't have this, it's going to serve me in the future when I'm, 55 and I want to retire before everyone else does.
Yeah.
That was something that was lost on me probably longer than it should have been, because that would have been, it makes a difference. And I don't think quality of life would have suffered.
Right. Yeah. Even putting away $100 a month or something is better than just blowing it on whatever you're doing in your 20s. Yeah.
That and then the real estate side is, and you hit on it. It's if you can manage the payments now on a mortgage, it's only going to get easier, right? It's going to stay the same, and it's going to stay the same or get lower. If you chase rates down, it's going to go. That overhead is going to become less,
right?
And then you make more money. You get married, your wife makes more money, all these things will sort of elevate it to being much, much easier.
Very
and
cool.
then you're sort of like telling people what you're renting it out for, and people are like, well, that's crazy.
Right. Yeah. I would guess most people could live off of the rent you're getting from Venice, just knowing how much rent costs just for this place, let alone a place right on the beach. Yeah. I imagine, that place is doing well.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of lessons with that, but if you're renting a place and you're renting at the top end of what the neighborhood is getting, the quality of your tenant is going to be better.
That's very true.
And probably more committed to looking after it. Yeah. And we've been really fortunate. It's a great house, and I've had friends from film live there for years, and we've been very. I mean, like I said, the beginning of it was just dumb luck,
right?
Despite Lee Berger and Richard Hollander saying, "I don't know, you have to make that decision for yourself."
Yeah.
But it was fortunate.
Yeah, that's great. Well, why don't we talk about where people can find you? Obviously, Compass. Yeah. Is there a website people can go to?
So you can, if you search for me, Arthur Jeppe, Compass. My email is arthur.jeppe@compass.com. I think most everything that comes up, if you look for Arthur Jeppe, is okay. Like there's nothing creepy out there, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward. LinkedIn, I'm there too.
Great. Awesome. Well, if you need to buy or sell and you're in Orange County or anywhere else, you know where to find.
And I will say with the network, probably about 10-20% of the families that I work with, the people that I work with, are actually not looking in Southern California. I mean, there's a ton of people that I could mention that have bought in San Francisco, Seattle. Someone that we know just recently moved out to New York, and it's so that connection is really, really helpful. I mean, Orange County is a great place to be, but if you need to be anywhere and you need someone that you can trust, I can get you to them.
Perfect. So, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, especially live here.
Sorry to pull back the curtain, but but I was in the garden. Yeah.
And then, of course, you know where to find me. You can find me at money-act.com. The dash is important. If you want to join our community, it's moneyactor.com. No dash in that one. And I hope to see you there. And please like and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it. I need more subscribers on YouTube. In fact, I have a lot of I can see the analytics.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in their 20s that watch these
Yeah.
things. So like half my audience is in their 20s.
That's
so
exactly who
you
you
just
want.
gave them perfect advice here today.
Yeah. Save.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And
Yeah.
thank you, Art.
Thank you. Thank you.